Welcome to Payne on Politics, a podcast where host Dr. Gregory Payne of Emerson College sits down with fellow experts to discuss the current state of politics, public opinion, and global affairs. In a world growing increasingly complex, communication and critical thinking is key. This only makes the Emerson motto, expression necessary to evolution, more true.
Hello, I'm Gregory Payne, the co-director of the Center for Global Communication and the chair of Communication Studies, the first communication department in the United States, here at Emerson College for Payne on Politics. I'm here today with a stellar student who, of course, I got to see a little bit of that shine down in Mexico when she came to rediscover Rosarito last year with her mother, who wanted to check out the safety aspect, and I think found out it was pretty safe. Then she had an incredible experience down at the Global Center Summit down in D.C., which we'll get into. Without further ado, welcome Jordan Owens from
Hello.
Georgia to Payne on Politics.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Jordan, it's a pleasure. I mean, first of all, why don't we just recently talk about what you've done, I would say most recently, and that would be D.C. You said to me when we were talking, you really love the D.C. Emerson program.
Yeah.
What was it about that you liked?
I really just honestly liked that I was at an internship and I was working, so it felt like I had already graduated, so I kind of getting that work experience. And I had worked on a PBS show called To the Contrary, which is like a political news analysis show ran by like all women, which was really something I wanted to do. I wanted to see if I would love it, and I did love it, and I want to kind of continue to go down that political route thanks to that show and just getting that experience of working on a broadcast show like that. So.
Well, I think when you mentioned it was done by women, we have to get you hooked up with Elise Nelson, because her entire Vital Voices, her new historic building, everything in it was designed by women. And so she's preferential in terms of women being an advocate. The other thing that is exciting is the idea you were in Georgia and then you came up to Emerson. You've got great schools down in Georgia, in the South. What brought you to Emerson?
Honestly, I felt like I needed to kind of leave home to appreciate home. I was kind of getting a little fed up with like Georgia just being so close and everything. So I was like, oh, well, Emerson had a great journalism program, and I had never been to the Northeast, to Boston before. So we checked it out after I got it early accepted for prospective students weekend, and I fell in love with the school. My mom said it fit my personality because it's like High School Musical every single day. So she loves it, and I loved it, and it's great just being up here, you know, and just kind of getting different perspectives on like life, and just like meeting people literally from all over the world. So.
Well, I think what's interesting is tomorrow, of course, we're going to be bringing in the next crop of Jordans because they're doing Picture Yourself at Emerson. So I think what we'll see you maybe on the other side, trying to get people to come to journalism and political comm. When I also think of you, of course, sometimes there are these once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And you had one when the Global Summit was in D.C. at the Watergate. The stars were aligned. We had Bob Woodward. And I know when Spencer and myself and Shepard and Linda Peak, Shack and Susan were talking about what we should do with this notion of, okay, Bob Woodward's going to be meeting with some of the major trustees and donors. There was this thought, but what about the younger people? So we thought, okay, let's pick two journalists. Of course, we knew you and Natalie from Rosarito. So we came to you and we said, hey, you're going to be able to interview one of the, if not arguably, the most important journalists that we have in our lifetime. What did you think about that?
Honestly, it still felt like a dream. I know that's probably going to be like one of the highlights of my career going forward. Just preparing for that and getting over the shock of the call. It was great working with Natalie, since we had already worked on a project together in Rosarito. So just like knowing our interview styles and being able to like collaborate even though we weren't in the same state. And like the first time we saw each other after Rosarito was the day of the summit, and just being able to talk with her, catch up, and just kind of go into journalism mode, making sure that like our questions aligned, and they did, and our ideas of how we wanted the interview to go aligned, and it was just great working with her and being able to sit down with such a historic journalist, Bob Woodward, and being able to talk with him about Watergate, but also about just like what it is to be a journalist, and his thoughts of like, or his advice for future journalists and everything. It was great being able to just honestly be in the same room with him.
Well, you know, what I found very interesting is, and I do know that Woodward was very impressed with you and Natalie, so that's exciting. But we were there. I think you could see some of the alums like Patrick Morris and others seemed to be almost giddy. You know, they were, oh my gosh, here's Bob Woodward. You and Natalie, though, were very professional. You didn't seem to be, you know, overcome by his celebrity. What was it that was enabled you to sort of just say, okay, this is a journalist, we've got to get to work here and do the job?
Well, we were also very giddy, but I think we had time to like get that all out with each other. Like before, we were kind of like just calming each other down and just being like, he's a journalist, we're journalists, he's going to see us in a professional light, we already see him in a professional light, so this is the interview is a time for us to just like be professional and just really show everybody that we know what we're doing, and like we deserve, as you say, a seat at the table, and just being able to get everything out like before he came in with Natalie was amazing, and just being able to calm myself down to do the interview helped.
Now, of course, your mother was down in Rosarito, as I said. She loves her Jordan, which of course we know all mothers do. When you told her that you were going to be interviewing him, what did she say? What did she think?
So I had to remind her of who Bob Woodward is, to be honest. She knew him, but she didn't know the name too much. And then she was like, oh, wait, you mean Watergate Bob Woodward? And I was like, yes, him. And she was like, no way, oh my God, da 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 da. And my mom, we have this thing in the family about like how she can't hold a secret, so she just wanted to tell everybody. And I was
even
like,
though it was a secret, we said don't tell people. Yes,
exactly. So I was like, I had to swear her to secrecy, and I was like, you can tell people after it's over. And after it's over, she was like, you'd be so proud of me. I only told your father, da 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 da, and everything. And I was like, good job, I'm so proud. And she was just like so like overcome with excitement for me, and that I had the opportunity to do this. So I know she like just appreciates you, and just for giving me that opportunity, and just like is happy for me that I'm at Emerson being able to have opportunities like that. So.
Well, I think one thing, and again, your mother was a real interesting voice, I think, for us last year when she went down to make sure it was safe, and then came out and I think stayed and enjoyed Rosarito. But what was exciting about the summit, and it's the reason why we really are wanting to establish the center in Washington D.C. to move from the Emerson, well, the Washington Center to actually an Emerson site, is because we think it's important for journalists like yourself, as well as people in political comm, polling, etc., to have access to, I would say, the powers that be in D.C. From your perspective, because you were at the D.C. Center, which has been a wonderful place to be, but we want to sort of have our own, what do you think would be, in terms of an attraction for Emerson, to know that you could be down in D.C. at your own center?
I think one, just like being able to come with like more Emerson students. A good and like kind of challenging thing about being at the Washington Center is that you go with a group of Emerson students, but you weren't housed together unless you like knew people, and I didn't really like know too many people who also was doing the Washington Center. So it was good to meet other people, but I really like kind of missed that Emerson community a little bit that I kind of like wanted in DC. So I think that would be like the main thing, just that still sense of community.
Well, I think, you know, a plan would be for you to, of course, be within that community if we establish the Emerson D.C. Center. But then also one of the possibilities would be to be at Vital Voices, which is with Elise Nelson, where she's working on exciting projects. The one thing I also wanted to ask you is, with regard to Rosarito, you went down, of course, you're very adventuresome. You know, you just mentioned, gee, I was in Georgia. It's a small place in terms of Even though it's Atlanta, it's still the South. It reminds me a little bit when I was in the Midwest in Southern Illinois. I kind of decided, okay, I need to get out of this culture. That was a big step for you to go from Georgia to Boston, and then you're going down to Rosarito, which is near Tijuana. And of course, if you watch Fox News and others, my gosh, it's dangerous. You decided to go. What was the experience all about, and what did you come away with?
I think the experience was all about just like being immersed in like the culture and just kind of expanding your horizons, and also just like learning how, you say this a lot, how to be change agents, and learning how to be more than just like a tourist in a place, and learning just that going and traveling somewhere isn't just about, oh, pretty sights, it's about meeting the people, engaging with the people, and just learning overall what it like being a student of the world. And I feel like that's something I would like to take with me like throughout my travels everywhere, just learning how to be more than just a tourist, being a change agent, and just coming out of like the Rosarito experience, like knowing that kind of helped me grow as a person, and grow like what I want to do in my journalism career and what I want to put out into the world. So I really enjoyed that.
Well, it seems to me that you've really sort of decided you want to be a global diplomat, which I think for a journalist, you're going to be telling the stories. I know when you and I were talking earlier, you said in addition, you kind of caught this travel bug. You know, in addition, you might want to go to Barcelona. And Shepard Vargo, of course, is somebody who's done that master's degree. You've talked about international journalism, so we're looking at a pathway for you to do that. Can you tell us about why you would like to do international journalism, hopefully at Blanquerna?
Because Rosarito was a very big role in that, as well as the DC program. I want to kind of merge like cultural and political journalism in my career in the future, and I feel like learning international journalism is a step of that. Learning how journalism is done all over the world, and how I can contribute to portraying just countries in like a better light, because I feel like we don't really engage with, we as in like the average civilian, one might say, doesn't really know like much about other parts of the world, and the parts that they do know are being fed in a very strategic way, and there's a lot of unanswered questions and how to do this, how to just very much help build a better place in the world for the future. And I feel like by understanding other parts of the world and understanding its people, as well as that, can help that political aspect a lot. And doing it at Blanquerna, I have always had a like love for Barcelona from a child. I loved Cheetah Girls. It was my introduction to Barcelona, so it was always a place that I've always wanted to go to. And with the Kasteel Well program I did sophomore year, I was able to spend like a weekend there, and I fell in love with Barcelona. And then I learned about the Blanquerna program, and I was like, oh, this may be my way to kind of study just journalism in Barcelona, a place that I have always loved. And looking at their program, it really just felt that they were trying to make sure that you are a change agent in the world and connecting people more than just on a surface level.
Well, I think one thing that's very clear in talking to you at Emerson, I think you've taken advantage of the immersive aspect of the School of Communication, some of the opportunities that we have in our department as well as journalism. What I like so much about you, and want to thank you for coming today for Pain on Politics, is I think you are a global change agent. I think it's all about cultural competency, and I think you're going to go back to Georgia with a better perspective and hopefully bring other people just like you, so talented, so gifted, and with a promising career. I think if you had a message to those students coming to Emerson for Picture Yourself, what would that message be in terms of why they should come here?
If they were like me, they were kind of like just only seeing one way of the world, one view of the world, and coming to Emerson really does, especially as a Black woman, really does expand your view of just not only, honestly, a school or a region, just the entire country and the world, and being able to build connections with people, the students, teachers from all over the world is really important, and it kind of gives you more of an appreciation of where you came from while still building on like, hey, you need to understand like that there's more than just home, while keeping that sense of home always with you no matter where you're going. So just Emerson's a great place to kind of understand all of that.
Well, I would like to say on behalf of Communication Studies, I think for all your colleagues in Rosarito, for you being a superstar with Bob Woodward at the Watergate, it's a pleasure to have you on campus. I think that what I'm learning is Georgia might have been your home when you began, but I think the world is your home as you continue your career. Thank you, Jordan, for being on Pain on Politics.
Thank you.
Take care.